Welcome back to Newsday. Let's head to Abuja, where a new coalition has been launched with the ambitious goal of fundamentally reforming Nigeria's electoral system before the 2027 general elections. This movement, which includes prominent figures like Professor Pat Utomi and former NLC President Ayuba Waba, emerged from a national summit attended by over 600 delegates. The group is pushing for sweeping changes, including granting INEC full financial autonomy, mandating electronic voting, and real-time transmission of results, and empowering the commission to independently prosecute electoral offenders. Organizers say the aim is to mobilize citizens to end election rigging and manipulation in the country once and for all. Programs Officer at the Center for Democracy and Development, David Emefiele, joins us now to discuss the movement for credible elections being promoted by Pat Utomi, among others, and how the CSOs are aligning with the theme and likely impact in shaping the politics of 2027. Good afternoon, Mr. Emefiele. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I think my first question to you is just the fact that it seems like every election cycle, we're always talking about these same ideals that we have for our elections, but with every election cycle, we don't necessarily get that much further. Why should people be optimistic about this new push? What makes it any different?
Yes, good afternoon again. I think this new movement and this coalition for electoral reform is one that has been in the making for quite a couple of years now. I don't think it's something that's really birthed today or the past couple of weeks. It's been a conversation that CSOs and think tanks have been having for quite some time now. And there has been gradual change in how the electoral reforms has been done. But to be honest, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. And that's why these conversations are being had now, especially before the 2027 elections. As we can see, is a very pivotal election in not just Nigeria, but West Africa as well, and for citizens and as well as people everywhere around us. So there's need for that push and that conversations to be had about electoral reforms, and not just even talking about these things, but actually having that actual change right now. And that's why these conversations that we had right now, especially by the movement for critical change and all that, and as well as CDD as well too, and other CSOs now.
Well, when you say, of course, the 2027 elections are crucial, I'm not certain that all the elections that we've seen in the past have not been just as crucial. I'm wondering what is being done differently this time. That's really what we'd like to place emphasis on, because if we're repeating history and expecting a different result, we're going to get the same outcome.
Yes, there's been a lot of systematic change, or trying to have a dialogue with the actual people that matter in terms of this. The National Assembly, for example, as well, there's been a lot of bills that have been put forward as well to have these things be put into the Constitution to also ensure that INEC is also protected as well to, for example, to have autonomy regarding their finances, to have autonomy regarding like the selection of recs as well too, because we've seen how important that these people are when it comes to elections, and how the executive plays a huge role in deciding who exactly becomes these particular people. But more importantly, as a whole wider range of what's being done differently, there is a huge civic education that's been going on right now by CSOs and organizations to try to shift the mind of apathy that a lot of Nigerians have, not just the youth as well, but the older people who have kind of given up on the system, of our electoral systems in Nigeria as well, to make sure that people understand the importance of their mandates, how the connection between their votes right now and how exactly the next 4 years or the next 8 years is going to have a ripple effect on these things. So there's been a lot of conversation between CSOs and the National Assembly, also INEC as well, to have deliberations to understand how exactly can we move forward. But more than that as well, putting forth bills that will also effect these changes to ensure that technology as well is one of the key parts in making sure that we eradicate the issues that keep reoccurring. For example, vote buying. We've seen also in the Anambra elections that was also conducted in the past week as well, how these things keep reoccurring. And it seems like what exactly we are fighting for, things are not getting better, but it keeps getting worse, even as a result of technology being put forward, as a result of beavers as well too. So there are a lot of moving parts being done now to try and ensure that there's credibility for elections, to make sure that people understand that when they come out to vote as well, they will be able to see the manifestation of what they want for the electorates as in their constituencies as well, to also ensure that people who have faltered as a result of the electoral malpractices are also put to justice. Because we've seen how, as a result of no punishment for wrongdoings and crime, has resulted into this continuous cycle in people feeling that, okay, anything can be done on this particular day, but they won't be able to follow through in terms of punishment regarding these things. This is one of the recommendations that also the movement is putting forward, and also CS organizations are also putting as well, to ensure that when we are having elections next year as well, when we are having elections in 2027, we don't keep having these same conversations, but there is a certain direction in which we are moving forward.
And, you know, when you talk about civic education for voters, how do you think voters are currently connecting with potential leaders? I mean, in the background of all of this is the fact that when we think about our political parties, they aren't so clear-cut, and, you know, politicians and leaders aren't necessarily grounded in the values of a particular party in the way, if you think of in the US, for instance, it's clear when someone is a Republican, it's clear when someone's a Democrat. That those lines are blurred here a lot of times. So how are voters connecting with leaders? How is that part of your civic education as well, to ensure that they aren't apathetic?
The first thing that CDD West Africa does is to make the electorates or people understand what exactly they are voting for. As a result of what they are doing right now, how will the 4 years impact them? What are the responsibilities their leaders have, first off? Because we've seen a disparity between what people believe and what actually is in the Constitution regarding responsibilities that people are meant to have. So first is to educate them on how or what exactly is contained and the rights that they also have and they should also have moving forward. Then secondly is to make sure that they also protect their mandates. We had a pilot program that was funded by Situation Room and FCDO with the Anambra elections, where we've seen how educating people on what exactly they are meant to do and making sure that they also police their votes as well and push forward to try and understand and make sure that from the counting phase to where exactly is going to be announced as well, where it's going to be uploaded into IREV as well, to people are more focused or more concerned about how exactly their leaders treat them. We've seen a huge sycophancy and the kind of election or electoral practice that we do in Nigeria, politics we practice in Nigeria, where it's run on interests and not ideologies, as you've said, in the United States. But over time, we've seen how there's been an interest between political party and an interest between the individuals in these constituencies. And we've been pushing for education and for people to have a larger voice than the political parties themselves, to have a want-togetherness and to come forth, to have a means to ask and request for these particular things that it has been provided for them in the Constitution, to also be given to them constituency projects in terms of what exactly the governments and their senators, their House of Rep members as well, to their governors are meant to do for them, as well as also linking through, okay, if you sell your votes now, if you're able to people buy your votes now, in the next 4 years, the 5,000, 10,000 that's been given to you is not going to last the next 24 hours. So you're having to think down the line that the ripple effect of what is being done now is going to have an adverse effect in the future. There's a lot of English being spoken, to be honest, in Nigeria, rather than the actual actions of what is being done. And there's need now for electoral reforms, not just in conversations or conferences right now, but also at the National Assembly for these bills to be passed as well. Regarding electoral reforms, regarding as well gender balancing in the National Assembly as well too, and especially the Electoral Tribunal for Offences as well, that was also being put forward by the INEC as well to ensure that political parties or people that are even responsible for party agents as well too are also being brought to justice to show that, yes, when I come out to vote, it's not just about what the other person wants, but what I want as well. Yeah.
We definitely applaud your effort, David. As we round up with you, of course, we understand you're pushing for more credible elections come 2027. But when you look at the realities on ground, for instance, some may say that the INEC, the security apparatus, is controlled by the current government. And this administration some also have the opinion that they've shown little appetite when it comes to reform. So I'm just wondering, when you look at all these realities on ground, what leverage do the CSOs have in this push?
To be honest, in terms of leverage, the only leverage we have is right now having a collective voice. We've seen how over hundreds of organizations have come together to push for this. And the good thing about this is mounting pressure on the government has sustained pressure rather is very essential in trying to get reforms, especially in the current reality of things we have right now. We've seen how when we get too relaxed about putting pressure on the government or being the watchdogs of these organizations or the executive as well as also the legislature and judiciary, how people have gone to sleep and are too relaxed. We are flaming a fire under people to make sure that they are more concerned and more interested in these things. So civil society not just does this on its own, but it tries to work with other stakeholders as well, to the international community as well, to highlight and also to push for this conversation. We've been doing election observation for decades now. A lot more conversation needs to be had, or active participation regarding the National Assembly reforms and also the bills that needs to be pushed as well too.
Okay.
So apathy is one that will definitely change as the time moves. Thank you.
Absolutely. Mr. Emefiele, thank you very much for your time, for joining us on this very important topic. We'll definitely keep watching it as we approach 2027.